Two Primarchs built for war. One, the Wolf King, Leman Russ, the Emperor's executioner. The other, Angron, the Red Angel, cursed by the butcher's nails. If they fought, not just in legend, but in a true test, who would come out on top? We actually have one canonical answer, the infamous Night of the Wolf. On the world of Gehenna, Angron had led the World Eaters in yet another massacre, culling civilians and enemies alike. Russ was dispatched to stop him. Their armies clashed, brother against brother, Space Wolves versus World Eaters. And at the center, the two Primarchs themselves collided. Russ came armed with his chainsword Krakenmaw. Angron wielded his great chain axe Widowmaker. They fought with such ferocity that both weapons were destroyed in the duel. Angron, driven by the nails, fought like a beast unleashed. He battered Russ into the ground, leaving the Wolf King beaten in single combat. And yet, while Angron stood over him, Russ's warriors had already surrounded the Red Angel. At a word from Russ, they could have ended Angron then and there. But Russ called them off. He refused to kill his brother, even though the opportunity was his. So who won that day? If we look only at the duel, Angron put Russ down. But if we step back, Russ had complete control of the battlefield. He caged Angron, broke his weapon, and proved he could restrain him. That one event sets the stage for this death match. Angron the stronger in the pit, Russ the stronger as commander. Before we can judge who wins, we need to know who they are at their peak. Let's start with Angron, the Red Angel, Primarch of the World Eaters Space Marines. He was found on New Syria, enslaved in the gladiator pits, and fitted with the butcher's nails, brutal implants hammered into his brain. These drove him into constant rage, rewarding violence with relief and punishing calm with agony. His entire existence was blood and chains. And when the Emperor took him away, he carried that fury into the Great Crusade. As Primarch, he turned the Dursti, the Legion, into berserkers like himself, crimson and bone-white armored killers who lived for the charge, wielding roaring chain axes and screaming oaths of rage. Angron himself towered above them, a scarred colossus whose strength and fury could tear even Astartes apart with his bare hands. Later, when he ascended into demonhood, his power grew beyond reason. It took the Grey Knights and entire chapters working together to banish him from the battlefield of Armageddon. He is, quite simply, rage incarnate. Now contrast that with Leman Russ, Primarch of the Space Wolf Space Marines, the Emperor's executioner. Raised on Fenris, he embodied the savage cunning of the wolf. But make no mistake, he was no feral brute. Russ was trained as a hunter and king, and his legion mirrored that duality. The Space Wolves were brutal in close quarters, but also masters of encirclement and killbox tactics. They wore storm grey armor, etched with glowing Fenrisian runes, wolf pelts on their shoulders, and carried frost blades and chainswords into war. Russ himself was massive, clad in rune-covered armor, his fangs bared in battle, his gauntlets tipped with claws. But unlike Angron, Russ was more than a warrior. He was the Emperor's appointed executioner, the one sent to bring down wayward brothers. That meant cunning, calculation, and the will to pull the trigger even against a Primarch. If Angron was fury without restraint, Russ was fury guided by discipline. So, what we have is this: Angron, the embodiment of raw gladiatorial rage, against Russ, the hunter and executioner trained to bring monsters down. Rage against discipline, chaos against control. That's the stage for the rest of this deathmatch.